Be advised, you are coming in weak and unreadable.
Say again, Com Tower. This is Haji. Do you read me over?
Pacho, this is Com Tower. I read you Lima Charlie.
Com Tower, Com Tower. Request permission to launch and commence the field op. Over.
Stand by. Pacho, permission granted. Say again, permission granted.
Roger that. Launching podcast in 3, 2. You are now entering the field op with your host, Pacho Correa, Chief Warrant Officer 3, United States Marine Corps retired. Get some. Hurrah! Get some. Hurrah! What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another great week. Thursday is upon us. Friday night's Eve, or Baby Friday, as I also like to call it. But goddamn, it's almost the weekend, and I cannot wait. Well, hey, why don't we do this? Let's get all the pleasantries out of the way, and then we'll get this awesome show started. Hey, this show is brought to you by Primerica. Have you ever thought, what is your financial independence number? If that term sounds familiar, doesn't sound familiar, I would highly recommend going, checking out the link on the show bio right there, and give one of the reps at Primerica a call or send them an email, and they'll get you that information, because a lot of us, even I too fell initially, until I got more educated on the industry, is that a lot of us tend to think that retirement is an age, and when in reality it is a figure that will help us sustain ourselves once we stop working and we have some type of income. So what is that number? If you want to find out what that number is and start working towards it, because it is never too late, it's all on the show link bio, and get yourself more educated. No commitments, no nothing. At the end of the day, it'll just be some great information for you to learn and know more about the industry. Okay. And this, we do a lot of good things in this show, and this show, because of the great things and some of the headways that we've done in the past, we're also sponsored by the VA. So here's a good message from Mike Richmond. It's coming right up.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. If you're having a tough time or thinking about suicide, you're not alone, and there's hope. VA's Veterans Crisis Line is full of responders who listen and help. Many are veterans or have veteran family members and friends, so they're prepared to address your challenges. After calling, you'll be connected to the next available Crisis Line responder. That person may ask, "Are you thinking of suicide?" Or "What plan can we put in place to keep you safe today?" If you choose, the responder will share your name and personal information with your local VA suicide prevention coordinator, who will connect you to local VA assistance and resources. Don't wait. Dial 988, then press 1.
Hey, since this, although we're past the holidays, it doesn't mean that a lot of us don't struggle with whatever we got going. Uh, Case in point, the last couple of days have been a little bit in my head, and I was talking to Brian Colbert on the show. Uh, my struggles for this week, and I'll share that a little bit during the show. So, but at the end of the day, and this is usually how I close out my show. If you're struggling, give somebody a call. Give us a call here at the show. You can send, I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Facebook, whatever case. Or if you want to talk to somebody, reach out to a buddy, or maybe somebody who's a professional. So TRICARE, VA, Military One Source, Suicide Hotline. At the end of the day, just reach out, because while a lot of challenges that you see out there for veteran benefits and whatever the case are good, it's not going to bring your life back. So we just don't want you to be a statistic, because you matter, and whatever period that you're going through at this time, as cliche as it sounds, it will pass. All right. Also, the show is brought to you by the Great American Constitution. Yet, hey, in this show, we support the freedom of speech, the right to bear arms, and all the great things, because that's what makes this a great country and the outstanding free republic that our forefathers meant to be. So if you like what you hear, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. If you don't, that's okay too. That is your prerogative. So I encourage you to listen to something from sitchradio.com. Brian Colburn is an outstanding individual. He and his team. Not only does Brian have his own shows, but this show would not be anywhere where it is today if it wasn't for him and the team that he has over there on in the admin side at the headset. So with that, go ahead and check out something from sitchradio.com and support your local podcast. All right, I think that's all the pleasantries for today. Let's get this bad boy started. So usually on the weekend is when I start putting the show together and what is it that we're going to talk about during this week. And it's funny. Brian and I have a lot of good conversations. We're good buddies. Obviously, he's a brother from another mother and also a fellow Marine. But also, we just have, you have some really, chew the fat with somebody, and you get, just whatever conversation is. So this weekend, and then right before the show, we were talking about TV, right? Because lately, uh, I just can't find anything good to watch on TV. And I was like, okay, well, as I was flipping through the Roku channel, uh, on my feed, just things from the 80s kind of started popping up. Not because I've been watching them or on Netflix or whatever, but I was like, hey, you know what? I saw The Greatest American Hero. For those of you who are younger than I am, I don't know if those of you remember the show. This was a show from between 1980 and 81. It had a really cool cast. Robert Cole was one of the he which was a very well pedigree actor back in the day, but he played like this FBI agent, rough and tough, World War Korea vet type of guy, and he had the Miss Connie Selica, who was back in the day very hot, and as a growing boy back then, I mean, even in Colombia, we used to watch these shows in syndication and actually, no, it wasn't syndication. We actually when it aired, but it was dubbed in Spanish. But the purpose of this show is this guy he buy a spaceship and this FBI guy, they kind of like end up being together, and this spaceship drops this spacesuit, the super suit for these guys uh, to be superheroes. However, along the way, the teacher, there's a teacher, a young guy, and Robert Cole is the older guy, kind of like his guide, so to speak. They lose the instruction manual to the suit. So this guy goes fumbling around, saving the day, but having a really hard time flying. So in the montages, or when this is not this is way before CGI and all kinds of stuff. So if you're gonna watch this show and they're gonna put some dumb stuff in the comments, Bacho, this show sucked. There's no CGI. Well, there isn't. It's called it's trick shots from the camera, like back in the day. So, but the show is really cool. I mean, my wife and my wife had never seen the show, and I mean, we're both thoroughly enjoying this show all over again. I mean, I'm watching uh, shows, not only that show, but The Bionic Woman. I've watched. I've been watching The Lone Rangers. This is a conversation that we had, and it was just the conversation just happened. But I was just thinking, I'm like, man, what were some of the cool things that when I was growing up? I guess my generation, us Gen Xers, uh, what were some of the things and what makes us different? And look, I'm not. I am, but I'm not. I am drawing that kind of line in the sand, so to speak, and you know, as a person who uses uh, this type of forum and media to communicate, I think sometimes we need to uh, tell the truth and call things how they are. Because as I'm looking around, and I know just like the song by I think Michael, about his father. There's a line of every generation blames the one before. However, as I look at things and sometimes what I see on TV or the comments or just in the workplace, how some people interact and, you know, I'm not saying that feelings don't matter and that how we talk to people don't matter or whatever the case may be, because advance is good for every place, but it just, when does it end? right? So I remember the time where, you know, when there was no water fountains, no water, oh, fill your water bottle, plastic bag. This We just drank water. I mean, that was it. That was one of the things. Drinking from a garden hose, from any neighbor's house. I mean, you could walk up to any neighbor house, turn on the fire and start, slurping away, lips on that corroded end where you put, the nozzle, whatever. I mean, lips all up in that and just, you know, quenching your thirst. I mean, that was Gatorade of the gods. Let's just call it. You know what I'm saying? Um, or playing all of, and I get it. Yes, we did not have iPads, we did not have those type of things. However, it was our generation. I guess you could say that's to some degree we, whatever issues we got going with kids being, being inattentive and whatever. I mean, to some degree we brought that on ourselves because we're the ones who, you know uh and Bill and Bill Gates and the guy who used to own Apple, whose name escapes me right now. Uh, they were from our generation, and we gave you those products and whatever advancements we've got, and we knew also things like riding your bicycle to school. I think the only thing that you see now, the only people that you see riding bicycles around now, and might I add, nice bicycles at that, are freaking crackheads. I mean, I live here in Florida. I am right next door to Miami, and it just I got a bunch of them, and I mean, they're so technologically advanced now. These dudes ride e-bikes. I mean, but those are the only motherfuckers riding a bicycle around. It's just crackheads, and I mean, they're all ripped. Like, oh, I'm gonna go buy my next six pack, get drunk, and just pass out on the sidewalk on my bicycle. You know what I'm saying? But we did things like that. We rode our bicycles late at night. I remember my mom would have to, like, sometimes call us in and scream our names for us to come back in. I mean, and if not, you got an ass whooping. I mean, that's kind of like the things that we grew up. I remember, um, even in Colombia, my cousin John, and by the way, this dude is only like 2 years older than I am, and to this day, this dude, I mean, he is on a bicycle. This dude can do the longest wheelies, even to this day. So I'm 50, he's 52, but my man, he can still do some crazy stuff on that bicycle. But I remember when we were kids, and he was well known in the neighborhood as being like the bicycle king and bicycle dude. And so one time we dared him to, hey, how many people can you bunny hop first? And so a bunny hop is basically when you're on your bike and you pick this thing up. It's kind of like doing on a skateboard, but think about. So he bunny hop. I think it was six. He had to haul ass to do it, but six people, and all of us gladly laid down. We want to be part of this history making event. We all gladly laid down on the fucking ground for John to be able to bunny hop all over us. I mean, God forbid you were the guy at the end, at the end of when the bike landed. But nonetheless, we didn't even think twice. I'm like, yep, let's. Oh, yeah, that's there. Okay, that's going down. Okay, we're going. Oh yeah, let me volunteer. Boom, on the ground. Go ahead and smash me with your bicycle. And by the way, he did it too, and he still had some space, so he did that. We used to, grab a couple of cinder blocks, some bricks, and a piece of plank, and hey, let's make a ramp and see what happens. Okay, I mean that's the type of material that us kids who are in your 20s, close to 30s. That is the type of material that your parents were made of. Okay. So much so that I will gladly share this story with you. And this is moving time forward in the Marine Corps. Okay. I was when I was and I was stationed at a reserve duty station. It was called 4th LAR Battalion. So shout out to my Iron Horse Marines who we went to in Iraq in 2003, all over Iraq. Okay, so shout out to the Moto T group over there and all the Iron Horse Marines. Anyways, So we were part of what we called I&I staff. So for those army dogs in the house, that's what we call AGR personnel. So we're basically permanent personnel at a reserve duty station. We're the ones who we're like our bed and breakfast. We change the sheets, make sure that there's enough coffee mugs and stuff at the reserve duty station. At our bed and breakfast. So when the reservists come on deck for that weekend or those 2 weeks, everything is planned and ready for them to do whatever it is that they're going to do. Right. So I'm being facetious, but all I mean is that we run the stuff on the back end and prepare everything when they're not there, right? Anyways, this is in the mid 2000s, and my buddy Jorge, who's been on the show, uh, we went through all these different phases. We went through, hey, we're gonna go be PT junkies and run up the hills in Margarita, Camp Pendleton, with our utilities and with our rifles and bark bark woof woof, right? And then we all got into mountain biking, and some of these guys bought some really nice mountain bikes at the time. And this is right at the beginning of mountain biking, when everything was just kicking off, and you got Specialized and all these other bike companies just appearing out of nowhere. Anyways, I don't know how I ended up with this bike that you can take out apart, or you can fold. I think, yeah. What's it? Anyways, you can fold this bike, and I thought it was the greatest freaking mountain bike in the world. Why? Because it was made by Hummer. Okay. Hummer being the bike, the Humvee manufacturer and stuff. And this is again, this is around the time where they had made a civilian version in the early 2000s of the Humvee, the square one, the first variants, where Arnold Schwarzenegger used to, he used to drive one and all that shit. So I thought, and me being Moto T, I thought that my bike was the best one because it was a Hummer, right? And we were at this new facility for Fourth Art in Las Flores, and it had this wash rack, and this wash rack had a 4-foot drop on it. And so it was myself, another guy named Scott, who became a warrant officer himself. Anyway, so the conversation went down something like this, and I'll play Jorge. Hey man, if you think your bike is so good, dog, why don't you just jump in off the wash rack? And when I look, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I could do that. Watch this, bitch. And those, quote unquote, those were my exact words. And then Jorge has this chug of this kind of Urkelish Puerto Rican laugh of his, really joyous, that when you hear him laugh, you just gotta laugh with him. So I hear that laugh, and so I go to I get on my bike, no helmet, no nothing, just green Marine Corps coveralls. Those of you who are wrench turners, you know what I'm talking about, and just military boots, and I'm like, okay, let's make this shit happen. Anyway, so I ride to the back, and I take my mark, and I just go boom. First time around, I go up on the ramps of the wash rack, and I'm up on it, and I'm up in the air, and it looks beautiful. However, I don't know what went wrong up in the air. The bike hits the ground. My feet slip off the pedals, and my nuts hit the center beam on, even though it's a pretty low one, it hits the center beam. My nuts hit the center beam, and then and then I fall, and then I skid. Bike and everything. Bike still between my legs, but obviously, if you've never been kicked in the nuts, ladies, I don't know if there's any ladies hearing to the show right now. However, it is it is one of the most gasping and most painful freaking things that can happen to you. So I fall and I slide with this bike about a good 2-3 feet. I'm all scraped up, but the only thing that I can do is, as I lay there like a fish being taken out of the lake, I'm gasping for air, and the only thing I can do is just grab my balls to make sure that they were there. And the only thing I can mutter out of my mouth is, I can't feel them. I think I exploded them. And instead of because they ran up to me, but instead of saying, "Are you okay?" all I could hear is these two dumbasses laughing their asses off at the whole thing. And they're like, holy shit, we knew you were going to hit the ground right from takeoff, blah, blah, blah. So I somewhat gather myself up a little bit and, want to make sure that they were still there, which they were, thank God. I slowly grabbed my breath and then I got up on my bike and said, I'm going to do it again. And I went back and did it all over again, launched, landed, and pretty much they were all whatever, you know but obviously that also led later on to a knee surgery for a torn meniscus on my leg. I'm almost 100% sure because of that. But it all goes back to the type of shit that we did as young people, and some of the things that we did back then. We used to watch TV shows that maybe deemed now violent nowadays. Bugs Bunny, Looney Tunes. The Another great show was Thundercats, He-Man. All those great things that we did way back in the day, and that shaped us to who we are nowadays. Now, I mean, we can go ahead and argue the case of, well, maybe back then we weren't as cuddled, and maybe we should have been. Yeah. Hey, I'll tell you what. Look, I had a fucking bully, and I'll never forget this kid. He was here from Miami. His name was Shane, and he was just little skinny blonde kid. I don't know why I was even afraid of this kid, but that was my bully. I'll tell you what, it made me more resourceful in the sense of how to escape and evade the enemy. You know, I'm not saying that bullying is right. I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm just saying that from my perspective, and growing up back then, those things like that again made me more resourceful. I mean, I'll tell you this, that that was the one and only bully I've ever had, because as I got smarter and better, and obviously in the Marine Corps, um, I then after that pretty much took no crap from anybody else. It's all I'm saying. So those things, I think, certain things, just like good or bad, our environment shapes us and molds us, obviously, in a more tragic way. If you grew up in a very unstable home where there were bad things going on, obviously that's a lot more extreme and a lot different. All I'm saying is that our generation, we were just carved out of a different tree, and maybe, just maybe, you know that's why I'm here today. And when I look at something, it's like, man, why is this person complaining about this? On one aspect, from my perspective, it's like, hey, whatever. I mean, that's the kind of shit. I mean, that was like daily, then like feral environment that we grew up in. uh However, that's again, perception is reality in their world, and so I guess I'm more conscious now, as well as how where that person is coming from. Then okay, well, they're much younger. They still have to go through certain milestones in life, uh, and I just can't compare myself. But I will say that I am glad growing up. Uh, how I what we did, and the things also that we brought up, uh to society, and our contributions, and then not to take away also from the country, from even the generation before us, the baby boomers and everything else, because obviously they too have seen, and they provided, and they gave us a lot of great things as well. So each we go through these cycles where we don't agree with one another, and, oh well, that's not going to happen, or whatever, or we're not going to make those mistakes. But it's funny how, oh man, my my mentor, who she's been on the show, in the investment industries, she, and I forgot who said it, but she quoted that, hey, history doesn't repeat itself, but it does sure rhyme well. So what she means by that is that, even though certain events may not repeat it, but they're pretty similar. It's like, holy shit, we've been here before. And I think that's where we are right now, where we realize certain things. And while I have an issue with participation trophies, I think competition and other things like that are good for kids, because it makes you realize um, that you're not going to get everything and everything. We went to an event during Christmas time, and I'll leave you with this. We went to an event during Christmas time, and there was this white elephant going around, and everything, and well, I wanted it. Somebody, there were there were kids there and stuff, and if you know white elephant, and my wife and I were pretty competitive, even with each other, and our kids know it, and our kids are, they participate, but there's no love. I mean, anyway, so, and one of the things, this person who had their kid, almost preteen, still young, um, somebody wanted that whatever they had on their hands, and they were like, hey, here's this, you take that. And before you know it, the kid just kind of silently started crying, and we're all in a large group, and it just, people were still having a good time, but I know that put a damper in the party, so to speak. And had that been me being that kid crying, oh man, it's just, you might, that's a kid that's being walked to the electric chair after. I mean, that kid walking, because my mom would have been pretty embarrassed. Hell, even with my kids, I would have, God, yeah, I hope, I'm so glad that that wasn't one of my kids. Is the bottom line is that, and what do I say that is that we're not going to be able to get anything and everything that we want. There's times that we're going to be told no, and you have, and that's okay, and you have to be able to self-soothe and say, hey, maybe not this time. I'll tell you this, I had a big test, and I'll share, I'll throw myself under the bus, and it's not really, I mean, I've been studying for another license test, that and interesting, it's a pretty big test, it's a pretty big deal, and yeah, it would have opened up just a couple of more doors for me. However, I went in there and I didn't pass. Now I could have been like, oh, whatever, and throw my hands up in the air, and and feel sorry for myself. But, and on the other part, okay, well, how much is this? Is a difficult test. It's not an easy one to pass. I have other friends who weren't able to pass it, and we've been studying around the same time frame. So what do I got to do? Hey, I just got to buck up, grab the books, which you see right there behind me. That's the book. That's the manual I've been studying, and I just got to keep hitting the books one more month, and before I could take the test again. And it is what it is. So we are going to be told no every once in a while, and we're just going to have to be good with it. We're not we're not entitled to everything. Our feelings, while they may matter to us, nobody else cares about them. Maybe some of our close ones, but at the end of the day, our feelings don't matter. It only matters to the self, and we have to be able to talk to ourselves and say, hey, uh, it's going to be okay. You got to, pick yourself up and move on forward, right? So we just got to be able to, you know, no, because at the end of the day, just like I've said this before, nobody's coming. Nobody's coming to help you. Nobody's going to do anything for you. And a lot of us, people in my age range. I'm not saying everybody, because I also met some people on, way across the other, on the other spectrum. And it's like, dude, how can you even? Did you even grow up in our time frame? But you know, so if you agree, this is great. If not, then that's fine. But I thought, I just thought I share with you, and just kind of reminisce as to the times of some of the things that we've done and how we're able to move forward. Because I look at some of my counterparts who are, very younger, much younger than I am, and it's just like, man, if this is the way you act right now, give it a few more years, and life is really going to kick you hard in the teeth, because life is not meant to be perfect. It's how you allow it to kick you in the teeth, and how you process it. And if you throw your hands up in the air and just kind of give up, it's going to be very difficult for whatever much time you got left in in this thing we call life. So, but anyways, everybody, I think this is a good point to end the show. We got a lot of good things coming for the future. Some other things in development, and I say this out loud because it also puts me on I guess on blast to also keep moving forward and do what it is that I got to do for you, the viewer, and for you to benefit and reap the benefits of what is of the services that I provide to you as your podcaster. All right. So with that being said, everybody, thanks so much. We're gonna end this. Daisuke, Aistumas, take care. We'll see you later. Yachts, get some.